real money capital must come into the space to support and strengthen the market. How do you think that can be achieved?
I think what you're seeing with the ETF is just one signpost in what I believe is the fourth or fifth industrial revolution. So, greater minds than me have talked about the tokenization of capital markets. This is the first step. Crypto is just the proof of concept. You're going to see tokenization of a lot of TradFi assets. So, the steps you talk about were, one, institutions really buying the asset class or accepting for the first time in history that they're storing digital assets or digital property. That's never happened before. Now, whether that token or that digitization is Bitcoin or an S&P stock share, is kind of irrelevant. The predictions that we have from all the research houses out there is that the tokenized economy is going to be $20 trillion by 2030. Even that's not so much. That's 10% of all the TradFi assets that exist today. So I think for me, it's just a signpost to the future and the future of capital markets that we'll be lucky enough to live through and enjoy.
Now, I want
23 into the sort of mid-60s. I think it's normal retracement, but nothing significant. And I fully expect that the price increase will continue to go from here.
So you think Bitcoin will continue to rise? Do you think we'll see more fresh highs? And if so, what are the factors that will contribute to that?
So I think for Bitcoin alone, that's inevitable. If you look at, this is very early stages for the institutionalization of the asset class. And I think it's important we look at it as an asset class rather than just this one product, which is the Bitcoin ETF. So unlike 2021, you're seeing this rise driven by institutions and true supply and demand. Remember, right now, today, before May 20th, only 900 Bitcoin are mined freshly every single day. That's roughly $60-70 million. You're seeing inflows into the ETF up to $1 billion a day. So purely on a supply and demand basis, you should see this price rally. Now, we're not necessarily Bitcoin or crypto evangelists, but I think on that basis, when you see the likes of Blackrock entering the space and allocating parts of their portfolio to crypto, you can only see the price going up. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin out there. So if 3% of the world's assets go to crypto, that would be a $6 trillion asset class. Today, it's worth $2.5 trillion. So yeah, you should expect most crypto prices to go north from here. And I think, obviously Ethereum and Solana will follow.
I mention the upcoming key technical events, the Bitcoin halving, which is expected to take place April 19th. And typically, in the run-up to those events, Bitcoin's price increases. So do you think that's playing into what's happening with Bitcoin right now?
Not so much. I think it's priced in. I mean, the evangelists out there will tell you, 2012, 2016, 2020, the halving preempted a bull run. I think that's priced in now, if I'm honest. But undoubtedly, there'll be a change, and miners already are trying to become more efficient. But I think for now, on this occasion, with the weight of money that's coming in, it might be less of an effect than you've seen previously. I think that the thing that drives most of this is actually the credibility lent to the market by large institutions, household institutions, finally owning and offering this asset class. He's a braver man than me. What I would say is based purely on supply and demand. We've never seen the likes of this before. If you go to that portfolio approach, 3%, 5% of people's portfolios or the assets in the world being allocated to Bitcoin, then you should see the price of Bitcoin alone being multiples of what it is today. I'm not in the business of predicting. Typically at LMAX Group, we match buyers and sellers. But I do think in a longer time horizon, 5 years, 10 years, then certainly this will be trading in 6 digits rather than 5 digits as it is today. That whole blockchain is if you imagine the future of capital markets is going to be tokenized, right? You hear Mr. Fink from Blackrock saying that. So it's, if you like, all I've ever done in 30 years in capital markets is trying to increase market access. So, 7-8 billion people in the world who are financially enabled, providing those people market access to trade even fractional amounts of an asset. So we don't have to have these minimum sizes of trade anymore. So I think that's really the empowerment that comes through Ethereum, ERC20, but likewise with Solana, which is probably the fastest blockchain right now in terms of transactions per second. So I think that empowers the whole growth of the future economy going forward. And whether you build it on Ethereum or a permission blockchain that might stem from Ethereum in the first place is again, the proof of concept for what the world's going to become. I honestly think we're at the start of something very, very exciting, and that in the next 15, 20 years, most of capital markets will be tokenized, and most of the record keeping, settlement, payment, reconciliation will be on blockchain. And the oft talked about instantaneous transfer of ownership will be a reality. So that's the empowerment you're going to get from Ethereum and these layer 2s right now. Late for the United States of America. Follow the thread of capital. It comes here. Crypto is still 1.5% of the world's assets, so they have time to get it right. The Securities Act, the Banking Act over here have lasted for 90 years. When they get it right, they'll get it right, and it will stand the test of time. As I say, you just look around you have all the institutions here. Now, unlike the UK and Europe, it can be a little bit politicized over here, and I'm no political expert, so let's see what happens with the election. It would appear at the moment that one side is potentially more crypto-friendly than the other, but I think irrespective of that, you're going to have a crypto framework, a stablecoin framework, a tokenized framework within the next 5 to 7 years. So whether it's in the next session or the next presidential term, it will happen. And I think the United States will be at the center of the new tokenized economy going forward.
London's 360 Summit is wrapping up today following a 4-day exploration of AI and other big future technologies with a large focus on maybe the great AI debate, boomers versus doomers. With us tonight for more is Abundance 360 founder and serial entrepreneur Peter Diamandis.
It's what happens on this exponential growth curve when AI is not as smart as us, but 1 million or 1 billion times smarter than us, right? There's no artificial limit at human intelligence. Double something 20 times, it's 1 million times better, 30 times, it's a billionfold. So the conversation was on this great AI debate we held amongst these 600 CEOs and philanthropists and leaders is AI or digital superintelligence our greatest hope for humanity or our greatest existential threat? And
that's a pretty big darn question, Peter.
It is.
Is it going to save humanity or kill us?
Yeah, and guess what? We need to be having this conversation at our dinner tables, in our boardrooms, in our halls of Congress, and so forth, because it's not 20 years away or 10 years away. This is the next 5 years. I think no one truly has an understanding of how fast this is going. Elon was there speaking about it and saying, we're seeing a 10x increase in AI compute every 6 months. So that's massive, right? Anthropic at 101 IQ on its third, on Claude 3. We have Gemini 1.5 doing amazing. And so there's no limiting factor, and they're continuing. And so we're one of the gentlemen there, Mo Gadot, who wrote an amazing book, Scary Smart, talks about the notion that we're raising Superman, right? So Clark Kent lands in Kansas, and he's trained by ethical, moral parents to become a superhero. But if he had landed in the wrong place and became a drug dealer, would he become a supervillain? So we're giving birth to this new species on this planet, this AI. How we raise it is so important.
I think how we raise people is also so important. Peter, I want to move on. Neuralink recently shared a video of its first human patient to get its implant, and really this gentleman who was paralyzed from the neck down used Neuralink and his mind to control a computer. I mean, it's powerful stuff. Hopefully it'll change this gentleman's life for the better. Is this kind of what you're talking about?
And this is just the beginning. We had Elon speaking about this. Ray Kurzweil, who's one of the greatest predictors, he predicted human-level AI this decade. His prediction on high bandwidth, connecting the cloud to your brain at high bandwidth links, 2033, right? So 9 years from now. And the idea is, I hate to say this, Elon's words, not mine, if you can't beat them, join them. As AI is taking off, are we going to couple with it? Now, these are incredibly insane ideas. But guess what? If you tried to describe to someone living 100 years ago our lives today, it would be incredibly insane. And the speed of acceleration means in the next 10 years, we're going to see as much progress as we've seen in the last 100 years.
Welcome to the Cryptoteacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And guys, we know the fourth industrial revolution is moving fast forward. And we have David Mercer echoing what Larry Fink stated. The global economy is going to be tokenized. And like I stated, guys, when they're out in the open and mainstream media telling you about the fourth industrial revolution now, telling you about tokenization, now it's time for them to flip that switch. And he talks about the halving. But remember, guys, we never pump around the halving. It's normally 6 to 9 months after. And is the United States behind the rest of the world? Yes, it is. But guys, remember, this is all planned. The emerging markets have to rise, and then the United States is going to follow. Remember what Jerome Powell stated. They've been working on digital assets for decades. And then we have the AI takeover. The robots, algorithms, and drones taking the economy over, paying each other with crypto, and the sheep going inside the metaverse. And the only thing the sheep need to do is ask why. Anytime you see something going on that doesn't make sense, ask why. What is the purpose with all this AI? What is the purpose of all these robots? If you do your research, you can clearly see. Remember, my people perish from the lack of knowledge because they reject it. Not because it's not there, but because they reject it. And then we have the distractions, and we know they distract the sheep. While Jerome Powell was in the House, we had NVIDIA. We had the impeachment. We had March Madness. We had the elections. We had hacks. We have TikTok. And now we get the DOJ going after Apple. And guys, how many times we've seen this movie before? And we have Apple, Google, Microsoft, all trillion-dollar companies. Guys, this movie gets old. But unfortunately, the sheep are asleep. And to add insult to injury, we have Tim Cook in China as the DOJ is announcing the charges. And guys, you don't think that was by design? The NWO are the master magicians. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you, because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Good morning. Earlier today, the Department of Justice, joined by 15 states and the District of Columbia, sued Apple in the U.S. District Court for the District of New Jersey for violating Section 2 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Over the last 2 decades, Apple has become one of the most valuable public companies in the world. Today, its net income exceeds the individual gross domestic product of more than 100 countries. That is in large part due to the success of the iPhone, Apple's signature smartphone product.
Today, we are taking another step to keep our marketplace competitive. The Justice Department has charged Microsoft with engaging in anti-competitive and exclusionary practices designed to maintain its monopoly in personal computer operating systems. and attempting to extend that monopoly to Internet browser software. The department alleges in its complaint that Microsoft has engaged in a series of anti-competitive practices.
Today, the Department of Justice, joined by 8 states, filed a civil antitrust lawsuit in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia against Google. We alleged that Google has used anti-competitive, exclusionary, and unlawful conduct to eliminate or severely diminish any threat to its dominance over digital advertising technologies. These technologies, which are known as ad tech, automate advertising sales by website publishers to online advertisers. When an internet user opens a web page that has ad space to sell, ad tech tools almost instantly match the website publisher.
What the Chinese Communist Party wants to do is dominate the world, and they want to do it at America's expense, and they're literally using every avenue available to them. I don't believe that Chinese technology should infiltrate every aspect of this country. It puts us at a national security risk.
Well, Apple CEO Tim Cook is sucking up to Beijing amid declining iPhone sales, praising China and the nation's critical role in Apple's business.
And while Cook's courting the commies, a bipartisan group of lawmakers is introducing legislation to restrict American investments in China. Here's the reaction of former State Department spokesperson Morgan Ortagus. Morgan, good to see you. Thanks for being with us. This is concerning some of the most influential and innovative companies are in bed with China. Seems to be a national security risk, Morgan.
Well, and listen, Tim Cook going over there makes sense from a business perspective because Apple has made the unfortunate calculation of so much of their revenue and sales are dependent on what's happened in China. And we know that it's down double digits even since last year. You know, a lot of people will ask me questions about like, well, are we trying to decouple or de-risk from China? And I always turn the question around, Sean, and I say, no, China is trying to decouple from us. If you look at corporation after corporation, whether it's United States or European, their sales go down each and every year because China is trying to actually be more self-reliant to produce more things at home. And they don't necessarily want the American corporations there as they did in the past.
I mean, look, I'd love for there to be a TikTok ban. I think back to August of 2020 when we had President Trump with the executive order to ban TikTok, and I think there was an opportunity to divest, and there was a plan with Oracle, and would have been a lot better if it had happened back then. I support a TikTok ban or a divestment. I think we have a very significant, somewhat narrow issue where we basically have a foreign government controlling one of the most powerful algorithms influencing the U.S. here.
A new report from the Federal Trade Commission blames large retailers like Walmart, Kroger, and Amazon for higher grocery costs. Megan Casella is in Washington, has more. Hi, Megan. What have you learned?
Hey, Contessa, so the FTC is just out with findings from a new report telling us that supply chain disruptions initially caused higher grocery prices, but it was actually the larger grocery retailers that made the situation worse. The FTC's conclusion here was that big grocery chains used rising costs as a chance to raise their prices and boost profits, which they say remain elevated today. During a meeting on this today, Chair Lena Khan said the issue could warrant further inquiry.
Have been concerned about allegations of discriminatory conduct, differential pricing that we may be seeing, such that small and independent firms may be losing out to bigger firms if we end up finding that these types of practices violate any of the antitrust laws, including the Robinson-Patman Act. I know I'll be very interested in making sure we take swift action.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
very much a traditionalist. I like staying with the dollar. You know that from when I was there. It's make the dollar the choice. I hate when countries go off the dollar. I would not allow countries to go off the dollar, because when we lose that standard, that will be like losing a revolutionary war. That will be a hit to our country, just like losing a war. And we can't let that happen. And too many countries now are fighting to get off the dollar. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.